Hey everyone, my name is Regine Garcia here at ManyRequests. So for today, we'll walk you through on how to create your ManyRequests assistant. So basically, the goal is to create an assistant that evaluates the project brief for completeness and clarity. So what that means is that when a user creates a project brief or your client creates a project brief, the AI would read everything, paragraphs and paragraphs of text, and evaluate for completeness and for clarity. So for example, here, hey team, we're putting together a dedicated testimonials page, etc., etc. The AI will basically analyze everything and see to it that it's complete, or if there are missing information, or if it needs more context. And so the output would be a response. So 2 to 3 seconds after the request has been created, the ManyRequests AI or your agency assistant would respond to something like, I've checked it out and seems to match what you asked for. It's all good there. Next up, the description. It's mostly clear, but there are a few spots that could use a bit more detail, etc., etc. So it's basically without any human interaction. It's reinforcing your client to provide other assets or other materials, links, more context to the description, etc. And that way, one of your agents or your designers would be able to have the complete information, right? So that's what we are going to do today. So the requirements for this is basically 1, your ManyRequests account, 2, a paid Zapier account, and 3, an OpenAI Platform account. So I'll walk you through the step-by-step process on how to do this. So the first thing is to connect ManyRequests and OpenAI to Zapier. So let's have our Zapier account pulled out here. And basically, let's create a Zapier or a Zap, right? So when we go here to the trigger, let's click on this one and look for ManyRequests as an app. And since we're already connected to Zapier, it basically shows ManyRequests here. However, if you're not connected to Zapier yet, it's going to show you this one. So when we click on that, it would ask for the domain and it will ask for the API token. In order to get the domain and the API token, we go to our portal in the ManyRequests platform, right? We go to settings, we go to integrations, and we go to Zapier. And here we have our domain. We'll copy the domain and paste on that form. And then our unique API token, copy the token and paste it on this sort of API form. And then click on yes, continue to ManyRequests. So once that's done, it means that your ManyRequests account is already synced or linked into the Zapier Zap, right? And the next thing we need to do is to create an action involving ChatGPT. So again, since this is already connected, you might need to create your own ChatGPT account or OpenAI account. Now, for this one, we recommend creating an OpenAI Platform account and not your ChatGPT account. So in order to do so, just log in here and go to API Platform. And once that's done, you're going to be prompted into this dashboard. I know it's a bit crazy, but bear with me. The first thing that we're going to do is to add in our billing information, put in some credit balance here to start. Basically, it works with tokens. So if you can start with like $5, $10 to refine the process, you can do so here. And then the next thing to do is to generate an API key. So to generate your API key, you go here to API keys under organization, and then you create a secret key. So you notice here that we have already created the keys here. And so it's as easy as pressing a button, naming the key, adding a project, creating the secret key, and copying those information to the Zapier prompt. It will show something like this one. So this one. So allow Zapier to open your ChatGPT OpenAI account. So it's asking for an API key, and that's basically the secret key. And then You don't need to put in your organization ID. And then you just hit continue to ChatGPT OpenAI. So after doing so, it's connected to your Zapier already. All right, so what's next? Next thing to do is to create the workflow on Zapier. So let's build this out step by step. All right. For example, let's just remove this. Right. So the first step is to link ManyRequests, right? The trigger event would be when a new request has been created. So this triggers when a new request has been created. And then our account is here, press on continue. Then you can test your trigger, and once it's good, you continue with this. Okay, so once ManyRequest is already validated, let's add in ChatGPT. And since we're already synced ChatGPT with Zapier, let's look for an action event. And our intended action event here is to conversation with assistant. So basically, this sends a message to ChatGPT, generates a response, and optionally storing the message history for a continuous conversation, which is powered by Assistant's API. So in order to create an API, an assistant, we go here to projects. Oh, not projects, sorry. Here, projects. And then under projects, we'll open our projects. I know. So we click on default project here, which is the project that we created for this prompt. So we go down here to assistants and we can create our own assistant. So we named it ManyRequests Assistant, and we have a system instruction which says, you are ManyRequests Assistant, pretend you are a designer, analyze the text if it makes sense, respond conversationally with a pleasing tone, and if there are unclear instructions. Also, prompt questions when needed. So that's the very basic system instruction. We use GPT-4o model, no tools, no functions, just the very basic ones. And then we just save that. And once we're done with that, it's going to appear here on our conversation with assistant legacy. The reason why we're using conversation with assistant is more on the flexibility of how you want the integration to work. So for this one, it's just a 3-step process. So it's from ManyRequests to OpenAI and back to ManyRequest as a response. However, if you do want to make use of the OpenAI assistant, it stores in the ID. So basically, it stores in all of the information pertaining to the project brief. That way, you can pull in that information and then, create a dialogue with the AI. But for now, for the purpose of this presentation, it's just a 3-step process, a very basic one. So project brief, evaluate the project brief, and respond if there are any questions or concerns regarding a project brief. But one of the reasons why we added in the assistant is because it stores that information in its memory. So you can further interact with the request and the assistant to basically make an answer. So going back here, conversation with assistant, and we'll continue and configure. Now for the configuration, I'll show you in a bit, but first let's choose the assistant, which we have named here ManyRequests Assistant. So if you have created several names and several types of assistants, you can call them out here because it's already synced with your Zapier account. So basically ManyRequests Assistant here, and then you can name your assistant, add an instruction, and choose a model. Let me get back to you on the prompt. The message that we created here is, pretend you're a designer and review the following elements. And we added in here a field called a title and say, confirm if it accurately represents the request. The next step is to add a field called description, and then review the description and ensure it is complete and clear. And if the instruction is unclear, feel free to ask questions for clarifications. And then the next instruction is check if there's a link here, which then I added attachments. So when your users upload an attachment on ManyRequests, it converts into a URL. And so that's why we're asking the assistant to check if there's a URL, meaning check whether there is an attachment. And if not, please encourage the client to upload relevant attachments or Google Drive links. And then we specify here as well the output format. So the output format is to address the output to client name, providing a summary of the results in a simple and friendly conversational tone. So clearly state whether each element is complete and let the client know what actions are needed, if any. And make sure to be less stiff and communicate with short, clear sentences. Sometimes ChatGPT needs to be instructed with very specific instructions. So this is where we get to play with our prompts as well as we refine our assistant. And I think we did this 22, 23 times to get it right. And it really depends upon you and how you want the response of your AI assistant to be. Again, for the instruction we added here, please don't use Markdown or HTML for formatting. This was our concern as well, because when the AI responds to the discussion panel, the email notification doesn't look right. And so we added this instruction. Please don't use Markdown or HTML for formatting. Make sure that there are spaces in between paragraphs. Limit the response to less than 200 words. Because we tried before and it spits out a lot of words and we reach around 500 words. So it's best to specify the number of words as well per response. And then also, please make your response seem like a real human wrote it and not too robotic. We have experienced a few in our versions wherein it feels very AI-ish, robotic-ish, and so we need to add some human element to it. And if it requires adding it to the instruction, we will. And then please, no signature at the bottom. And we selected the assistant, which we named ManyRequest Assistant, this one, and then our name, ManyRequest Assistant Bot. So all of the instructions and models that we add here will definitely override the instructions that we have here. That's why the instructions that we placed here on the playground or on our OpenAI is not too detailed. Thing is, if you can create different types of assistants for different use cases, you can always just change up the instructions here. And then the next thing here is the response instruction. You can add stuff here or you can choose not to, but basically we add here, make sure to address to client name. That way it's more personal. So if we are responding to clients, it's quite necessary to address them with their name. And so we take in the first name and have the AI or the assistant address the user as if, a human being is talking to him or her. So that's for our ChatGPT. And then the next flow would be after evaluating the request or the project brief, output into a ManyRequests comment. So in order to do that, our setup would be, or a setup event would be to create a comment. And then once we have configured that, the comment would be the full response. So it means that when the assistant creates a comment, it uses this email here, specific email that you want, and then it would output the full response of the AI. So that's basically the workflow. Next is testing and refining prompts, which would take a while. So the fun in this one is actually the creation of your prompts and the instructions that you add into your assistant to make it more branded, or, let's say you want the assistant to respond to the client as howdy or whatever, or if you want to have some sort of quote at the very end or a motivational phrase at the very end, really depends upon you. But creativity is needed here to output a very good response. So for here, let me just show you a bit here. Right. So this one, we have a project brief here, and then it responds with, hey, Jeff, let's dive in, blah, blah, blah. Looking forward to making it happen. There are some elements to it that you want to add it to have more positivity into it, more encouraging, etc., etc. So you can really definitely put it in the field and refine it as you go. One thing that we also adjusted is the profile. So initially, this is Robin's name, Robin's photo as well, but we really wanted to make it have an impact to our users. So we created an extra account and customized it to have this sort of image and its name. So you can change the name, whatever you want to, and then, well, on the requests, it would show this one. I think that's it. So, yeah, thank you. So just to recap everything, and let's go to the overview of our Zap. We need 3 steps. The first step is our trigger that whenever a request is created, it would converse to our AI assistant or OpenAI assistant, and it will evaluate the project brief. And then it will create a comment on ManyRequests specifying whether or not there are questions to said project brief. Anyways, that's it. So if you do have any questions or concerns, please don't hesitate to shoot us an email at ManyRequests. And also, if you want, you can quickly send us a message on our help desk, and we'll be there to walk you through with all of your needs. Thank you so much for your time, and have an amazing day.